Don't you been down thinking about him again? I know that your heart's been broken. You should try and let...
All right, time to launch this animal. I have managed to find a small section of a road which is okay-ish. I mean, it's still bumpy. It's not very long, but this guy is quick, so it should be all right. Let's put you into dynamic mode. I'm going to use the onboard computer to measure my acceleration. Foot on the brake, foot on the throttle. Ready, steady, go. Holy shit. It's quick! It's quick! My God, it's 125 kilometers an hour. I mean, yep. So the declared, my face, the declared 0 to 100 is 3.3 seconds, and I am 3.0 seconds. Now, this is considering the shitty road. I reckon on a racetrack I would easily be able to get under 3 seconds. It's just, yeah, I mean, enough said. I think my face says it all. It's incredible. Bloody hell, Audi. 1, 2, 3. Electric cars, we hear a lot about them. Is it just the beginning? Because some of us have had enough already. Yet I think it is the push that our mighty political leaders and also minions blindly following that is causing the distrust, the reluctance, and just a plain dislike. But it shouldn't be this way. You might not agree with me, you might not like it, but electric cars do have a place in today's world. Now, cars are means of transportation, first and foremost. But is that truly all? Well, if it was, the likes of BMW M, Mercedes AMG, Audi RS were gone out of business. Cars drive us, we drive them. They excite us, they make us emotional, we form a connection, and in many instances, they form a huge part of our lives. Yet those against electric cars say, once you take the engine out, you lose a soul. And truth be told, I am guilty of it myself. I did use the words soulless. But come to think of it, is it just the engine? That's it. Now, if you take a heart out of human body, we are gone. You leave the heart in, you take the brain out, we are alive, but we are very much a vegetable. And it's just a sadder end. So can an EV be anything more than an electric appliance? Well, for starters, I have never seen a toaster looking this good. And believe me, I've had some fancy ones. I've never walked away from the kitchen and said, wait a second, let me take another quick look at that sultry toaster. Yet this thing, gorgeous thing, I do look back all the time. So we're off to a very warm start. Let's open this electric book and hope it's not going to explode. It sits very low, like a golden stingray, gliding and wafting along. Very comfy seats, very good seating position. The air suspension comes as standard, and it is absolutely delightful because you can't feel any rubbish on the road. Now, a lot of EVs, especially electric SUVs, can and do feel fidgety simply because they are very heavy, and they need a stiff suspension to stop them from rolling around. And it is very much a misconception that an SUV is comfier than a coupe or saloon. Now, this car is a living example that it is simply not true. We've got huge tires for maximum grip, but the ride is still very peachy. Double glazing on the windows, which means there's absolutely no wind noise. When you're on the motorway, you pick up quite a bit of speed. There's a little bit of tire noise. But you see, because there's no engine in this car, we pay more attention to it. And what do we do as humans? We complain. This is actually a very solid electric Gran Turismo, because just driving on the motorway, my range is about 350 kilometers. That's 220 miles. In town, we get about 500 kilometers, 300 miles, not bad at all. 93 kilowatt hour battery. We also have rapid charging, 270 kilowatts, which means from 10% to 80% in under 30 minutes. Now you see, when you're charging most electric cars and you reach 90%, it feels like, well, milking a bull. What's interesting here is that the charging rate remains at about 70 kilowatts. That comes in very handy when you're on a long distance journey. No faffing around, you can just get back to driving, well, fast. So when you look at this car, you probably think, well, it's sexy, but I bet it's not practical. I can prove you wrong. The boot space is actually quite a bit. Saloon-style tailgate, 350 liters of space. You've got additional small boot space in the front, 81 liters, but it's good enough for your cables and some small bits and bobs. In here you've got some useful nettings, pockets, underfloor storage, not much here. But when you fold the back seats, I will demonstrate it, you can actually easily slide a couple of large suitcases, and that's enough about the boot space. The throttle response here is as such. You gently brush on the accelerator and boom, off you go flying. Nearly 600 horsepower, 830 Newton meters of torque, which means when you floor it, it's just bonkers, it's just mad. It shoves you back in your seat. Now, we are quite heavy, 2.3 tons, but despite this, it sits flat around the corners, the handling is fantastic. And the answer is very simple, physics. Imagine an electric SUV in conditions like this. It would crap itself. Now, Audi has done really well masking the weight of this car, but in case you get carried away on a twisty road, thinking you're driving a Boxster, well, the all-wheel drive system will most likely bail you out. And this wasn't even sport mode, so let's flick you to sport mode. Shame we don't have a shortcut buttons for it. I mean, the throttle response is just absolutely mental. Jesus Christ! You can feel the suspension stiffens, the steering sharpens. It's all very aggressive in a positive sense. And then it also plays some bizarre sound, like a spaceship, like a computer game. Mate, we're on a real road. It's just fantastic. It's absolutely, it's just amazing actually. The performance of this car, it's mind-blowing, literally. We've got rear-wheel steering, which means at higher speeds, your back wheels turn in the same direction as your front wheels to give you a better stability, so that you can confidently continue your pirouettes on a twisty road like this. Pooh! Got excited a little bit there. Now, being a backseat passenger is not bad at all. I have adjusted the front seat for my height, and I've got plenty of knee room. The floor down here is sculpted so I can slide and park my feet. Very, very comfortable. Gorgeous sunroof, and I think without this sunroof it could get a little bit too dark. Now overall you've got plenty of space here, and don't call me a selfish bastard, you can still fit your kids in here. The this is actually a pretty large car. It's wide, it's long, but it's not hard to maneuver it. Now you see what the rear wheel steering does at low speeds. It turns your back wheels in the opposite direction to your front wheels to make it easier for you to maneuver in and out of car parks. Yet every time I enter a small car park, I feel abused. The alloys. As if all small car parks had some sort of affiliation with panel beaters. What's that all about? Then again, what's the alternative? A smart car? Well, that's just pathetic and sad. The visibility in the front is very good actually. The back window, yeah, that's not much to see. Moving on, but we've got sharp and crisp cameras. And if you pay attention, I promise you, you'll be just fine. So you look at this car, and I'm talking about all coupe style cars, and you think to yourself, nah, an SUV is just easier. I'll tell you what else is easier: sitting on a sofa rather than lifting weights. You see, life is very short, and whilst we think we've got time, we don't, because one day we'll all be old and we'll all be dead. And the point I'm making is, if you're thinking and can drive a gorgeous coupe like this, please do. Because in a few years' time, you might not physically be able to, electric politics aside. You see, driving a stunning electric coupe like this is an entirely different experience to driving a heavy, big, non-electric SUV, which feels like a bloody whale. And you see, here's a paradox. Driving those sort of heavy cars does and will make you feel old. And now quick look at the cabin, because it cannot go unnoticed. The quality of the materials, the fit and finish is superb. I do love this blend of different materials: Alcantara, leather and wood. It looks, it feels, it smells divine. In terms of practicality and storage space, you've got a small pocket down here, tiny shelf here, cup holders, glove box is pretty tiny. I mean, this is not the most practical and spacious cabin I have seen, but it will probably be sufficient for the vast majority of people. Now look how beautifully this touchscreen has been integrated into a dash. When there is a will, there is a why. Now the infotainment system is easy, straightforward, very intuitive. The graphics are excellent. I'll show you how quickly it also responds to the touch of my finger. Excellent. You can also plug in your Apple or your Android, and you actually don't have to plug it in. It just goes wirelessly for Apple CarPlay. Look, I've got that sorted. Very handy. Okay, so touchy-feely, very good, but down here you actually have physical buttons for climate control, driving modes, cameras, track change, volume. This is a performance car, so you're not supposed to be fiddling with your screen whilst you're driving. This is far more practical and less distracting versus touch buttons. Overall, I mean, the cabin is just gorgeous. And if electric nutters and fanatics were smart, they would have recognized it. Instead, they focus on price and range. And how's that working out for them? Not very well. You see, truth be told, a lot of people in Western world buy cars on emotions. We need them. We need flair, we need flamboyancy. It's very difficult to achieve it with a large electric SUV, which is precisely why we need cars like this. Now, in my opinion, EVs have a place, but they are not every place. They are a choice. And this Audi is a rather wonderful addition. If I was buying an electric car, I want to make sure it is essentially sexy and furiously fast. Precisely what this car is all about. However, in the past, I did say that I love understated cars. Well, today I might as well wipe this statement off, because what I love more is driving this golden, opulent, bombastic Audi. and I feel like $1 million in it. So does an engine equal a soul in a car? Well, yes and no. I've driven plenty of engine-powered cars, which are as soulless as it gets, because I actually think it is often down to a driver. You make the car. Let me put it this way. If you're a knob and you drive a Bugatti, that magnificent engine won't help. You're just a knob in a Bugatti. Now, Audi RS e-tron GT is the best riding, best feeling, best looking electric car I have ever driven. And on this glorious note, I'd like to thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye. Foot on the brake, foot on the throttle. It's coming. Come on, Andrew. Yep, that short section of a road was enough.